Hello and welcome. I'm Melinda Akinlami. Tonight, voters in Bayelsa and Kogi states turn out in their numbers to choose their governors for the next 4 years amid pockets of violence in some polling units. People of Kogi West Senatorial District vote in the rerun election to decide their representative in the upper legislative chamber following the appeal court judgment sacking Mr. Dino Milaye. Candidate of the Allied People's Movement in the Ogun governorship election, Mr. Adekunle Akinlade moves to challenge the appeal court judgment affirming the victory of Governor Dapo Abiodun. And 2 people killed as protests erupt across Iran after government announced rationing of petrol and jacked up its price.
On business news tonight, federal government plans to boost bilateral ties with United Kingdom by establishing trade center in partnership with Nigerian British Chamber of Commerce.
And on sports news tonight, Stefano Tsitsipas records the biggest win of his career after defeating 6-time champion Roger Federer to reach the championship match of the ATP Finals in London.
With voting over and collation of results underway, the people of Bayelsa and Kogi states are awaiting the outcome of the governorship elections which took place today. Voters in both states trooped out this morning to elect governors to run their affairs for the next 4 years, and also a senator to represent Kogi West Senatorial District. In Bayelsa State, a total of 45 candidates are in the governorship race with over 923,000 registered voters, but only 889,000 voters collected their PVCs in the 8 local government areas. Now, the race is expected to produce a successor to Governor Seriake Dixon, who is in the final months of his second term. However, in Kogi State, a tight race is expected with 24 political parties fielding governorship candidates. Over 1.6 million voters are registered across 21 local government areas with 1,485,000 PVCs collected. Ahead of the elections, President Muhammadu Buhari had called for fairness and transparency and the Inspector General of peaceful atmosphere for the conduct of the polls. Or that promised by the IGP did not stop violence from rearing its ugly head in the Kogi governorship elections because it came with its highs and lows. There were records of ballot snatching and chaos in some parts of the state. While civil society organizations condemned the violence and other issues which they say compromise the integrity of the process, some voters are calling for supplementary elections. It was gathered that at least 3 people were killed in the chaos. Our correspondent, Kayla Megwa, has the report.
Despite delays in the deployment of electoral materials in Kogi State, voting started quite swiftly, to the delight of some observers. At the Crowther Memorial Polling Unit in Lokoja, chaos ensues as masked armed thugs shoot their way through, carting away all electoral materials as everyone scampers to safety. What started off as a peaceful voting exercise in Ward A, Lokoja, Kogi State, suddenly turned awry a few minutes ago here at the Crowther Memorial College when gunmen came in wearing masks, shooting in the air. We all had to go into hiding, and by the time we came out from hiding, we found out that every single voting material has disappeared from this particular polling unit. A similar story plays out at the Ejule Ofu local government area.
Early in the morning, we could be able to do accreditation. But sometimes after, we just discovered that some group of thugs just came in and just scattered everything and made away with all the ballot papers and the ballot boxes. It's only one polling unit that they could be able to vote normally in the whole Ejule metropolis.
The violence comes with its casualties. Intrigues have trailed this election in Kogi State, with allegations of voter suppression amidst calls for peace.
We're not happy with the way the status quo is maintained, and we want a better Nigeria. We want a more responsive policing system, more responsive judicial system. Then it's left for people who occupy these positions of authority to reach down into their soul and do what is right.
I will urge all the people of Kogi State that they should not take laws into their hands as law enforcement agencies have been charged to do their job. And I equally call on my supporters not to perpetrate any violence anywhere, because he who commits violence will face the full wrath of the law.
Encourage my supporters to come together to ward off any attack. What I'm interested in is one man, one vote, and they have come to disrupt the voting pattern. Of course, they've been repelled, and I think from now we are conscious, we are serious, we are vigilant, because we want to ensure we vote and our vote counts.
With 21 local government areas, 24 governorship candidates, 1.6 million registered voters, and 1.4 million PVCs collected, the stakes are high in Kogi State. However, players are being called upon to keep the peace as the next phase, which is collation and announcement of results, commences. Kayla Magwa, Channels Television News.
The violence that greeted the conduct of the Kogi State governorship election was not limited to the polling centers, as some youths blocked the Ajaokuta-Lokoja Federal Highway, burning tires and shooting into the air. The crisis, which happened some 3 kilometers away from the state capital, forced motorists to make a U-turn until policemen arrived at the scene to clear the road for commuters after being held up for about 1 hour. Before the police arrived, Channels Television's crew members covering the governorship elections in Kogi East Senatorial Zone were caught up in the chaos. And staying in Kogi State, the people of Kogi West have also voted in the rerun election to choose a senator to represent them. The candidates, Dino Milaye and Mr. Smart Adeyemi, returned to the poll after the judgment would nullify the election of Mr. Milaye. The process, however, recorded some violence, and our correspondent Terry Kumi captures it in this report.
Apart from electing the #1 citizen of the state, the people of Kogi West are at the polls to elect a senator, following a Court of Appeal judgment which upheld the decision of the Election Tribunal annulling the election which produced Dino Melaye as senator and ordered a rerun. At Iloafo Ward 2 polling unit of Kogi West, which is the polling unit of the PDP senatorial candidate, voting commenced at 8:06 a.m. and the process appears relatively peaceful. This man, who is visually impaired, narrates his experience after voting.
INEC told us they will bring guard here, and it's not brought here. I asked, they said I should just go and vote like that. For example, if my vote will be counted or it will not be counted, I don't know, because with the assistance of my grandson, I just put my hand to my political party.
Senator Dino Melaye arrives at about 15 minutes past 9 and casts his vote.
Well, I've received complaint in Araromi and Odokoro this morning that the local government chairman mobilized some people and they are trying to stop people from voting in Aye. But we have also called the attention of the security agencies.
The APC senatorial candidate, Smart Adeyemi, also makes his way to his polling unit at Iyara at about 11:15 a.m. to cast his vote.
It's been smooth all the way, and the reports that I have received across the Central District confirms that everywhere has been, to a large extent, very peaceful.
On getting information of violence at Iloafo Ward 2 polling unit, we returned there almost 2 hours after leaving the area, and this is what we find.
The armed gunmen came in a Hilux vehicle, shot the place up, took the ballot boxes, took the paper, the ballot papers, took everything and went away. Now, we were told by an eyewitness that 2 people were shot. We don't have clear details to that, but 2 people came forward to say that they know the people who were shot. And as a matter of fact, one of them claims to be a brother to the person who was shot.
This man says he witnessed the situation.
We were here, just started hearing guns sporadically. They were shooting. Everybody was just, that's how we run away. They snatch our bus, they destroy it, they go with some materials, and all those coppers, the APO and the POs, the material inside their bags was taken off.
Just around the corner at Ayetoro Ward 2, the scene is littered with ballot papers, broken ballot boxes, and chairs. Reacting to the violence, Senator Dino Melaye insists that INEC must annul the elections in areas where violence was recorded.
And I'm calling on the security agencies and INEC to respect their promise that wherever ballot box is being taken away, it cannot be recorded, that votes in that particular unit will be cancelled.
A winner is expected to be announced within the next 24 hours in this keenly contested senatorial election in Kogi West, which almost took attention away from the governorship election. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Vote buying has been prevalent in the Kogi governorship election, with the cost ranging from 500 to 6,000 naira. And that's coming from the chairman of the Center for Democracy and Development, Idayat Hassan, who is on election monitoring in the state. Now, she mentioned this to our correspondent, Kayla Megwa.
It's been a mixed bag. At the beginning of the process, we were at places that were peaceful. People turned out in large numbers to vote. There were electoral materials in several of those places. At least by 8, 9, we could say over 50% of the polling units were actually open. Very, very large turnout. Ganaja, I was in Ganaja, I was in Ajaokuta, I was in several places. Very huge turnout of people ready to vote. Even we had instances of men and women queuing separately in large numbers, old people as old as 80 years ready to vote. But rather than allow the will of the people to actually prevail, we had some thugs, political thugs, randomly come in glare daylight, cutting away materials, shooting. In some instances, we even had people forcing people to vote along a certain line. I think it's uncalled for. I think it's unexpected. And I think that it's not even allowing us to actually look at the process. It's already delegitimized the outcome of the elections. In fact, all across Lokoja, there were vote buying. From yesterday, Ankara rice, money were being distributed, and the price of a vote ranges from 500 naira to 6,000 naira in these elections, because we had places in Olamaboro that they paid as much as 6,000 naira to buy a vote. In fact, I witnessed several instances of sign language. We even had instances of the police themselves watching while they sell the vote.
After the break, we have more on the governorship polls and what the election observers are saying about the exercise. Join us again.